over our healing and will be the last time I have to think about you for at least the next 30 years. As we read our statements today, I ask you to remember this. While you may feel a flicker of empathy for a moment, maybe even a few days, these are the realities we are sentenced to live with every single day for the rest of our lives because of what you have done. Not for your sake, Ashley, but for the sake of making sure all our voices are heard. We have a limited amount of time, and there are far too many victims that deserve to be heard. Ashley, your decision to drink and drive destroyed many lives and prematurely ended two. Two humans that deserve so much better than the fate you gave them. Gone because of you.
On a calm evening in Eagle Mountain, Utah, the Noffsinger family was doing something that thousands of families enjoy every day, taking a sunset walk. But as they walked beside the edge of the road, a vehicle driven by Marie Garcia suddenly swerved out of control. Garcia wasn't only over the limit. Her blood alcohol content was an unbelievable 0.21, more than 4 times the legal limit. Within just a few seconds, she slammed into several family members, and instead of stopping to help, she sped away. She left behind a horrifying scene, with 2 men dying on the ground and several terrified children. Today, the woman who lived through that nightmare stands only inches away from the person who shattered her future, ready to make sure the court understands this wasn't an accident. It was a chain of deadly choices.
John was a wonderful provider to all of his patients, but he took a special interest in caring for medically vulnerable patients. These included patients experiencing home and food insecurities, those suffering with mental health ailments, and patients with substance use disorder. These are the patients that are all too often given up on by the medical community. They are often assumed to be lazy or unwilling to improve their current situation. Almost after every shift, John would come home and tell me about a conversation he had with one of these patients. Not a medical conversation, but a human conversation. He knew that taking the extra time to ensure these patients felt seen and valued would improve their trust in the medical system and hopefully support them towards healing. There was one patient in particular that was well known to the department. He suffered from home insecurity and substance abuse. Every time John was on a call involving this patient, he would sit and talk with him about life. He didn't interrogate him on why he relapsed or scold him on not complying with treatment plans. Eventually, it was John who convinced him to check into rehab after decades of substance use. He saw patients as people and believed that everyone deserved to be treated with respect and dignity. And yet, just months later, it was a drunk driver who took everything from him. It was a drunk driver who drove away, leaving him lifeless on the side of the road. Where was the respect and dignity that John deserved? He wasn't just my partner, he was also my best friend, my future. He was an incredible musician, a talented cook, and had the biggest heart, especially when it came to animals. He often spent hours out exploring the woods with our dog, dressed in matching bandanas. They would overturn rocks and stumps, looking for mushrooms and cool bugs. Our dog absolutely adored John. They were each other's best friends. After John's passing, our dog would still run to the window at the sound of the garage door, tail wagging, waiting for his dad to come home so they could go on one more adventure. Because of you, Ashley, he never did. Working in the medical field myself, I know good people can make horrible mistakes. I can understand and empathize with someone who has made a mistake. But Ashley, this was not a mistake. This was a series of selfish, deliberate choices. And perhaps most vile of all, you chose to run over an entire family and then flee. You hit us and kept going. You didn't check if anyone was alive. You didn't call for help. You left John, you left Dan, and you left my family in your wreckage. I'm haunted every single day.
The strongest evidence against Marie Garcia wasn't only the drinking, but also her actions right after the crash. Investigators found that Garcia didn't simply drift off the road. She hit the family with such force that the victims were thrown long distances. I feel my throat tightening. Rather than stopping to check on the children or the men she had just quote-unquote mutilated, as the widow describes it, Garcia drove away, with her own child still inside the car. This part of the testimony is meant to push the judge toward the harshest sentence by exposing the complete inhumanity of her actions. By describing the children's screams and the desperate but failed CPR efforts, the speaker forces the defendant to face the truth, that leaving the scene was a conscious decision to abandon human life.
I'm left to carry, but you, Ashley, don't have to. You had the privilege of driving away. We didn't. No amount of alcohol can justify abandoning people you just mutilated or murdered. This was not intoxication, this was inhumanity. Compared to the lifetime of suffering you forced upon all of us. You may eventually walk free. We, however, will never be free from what you've done. Our loss will span decades, lifetimes, and generations. Ashley, you made me a 28-year-old widow. In a bed John and I once shared, I wake up alone. In a home once filled with his laughter, I come home to silence. I live with the memories of the life we once had, and the now empty space where it used to be. John wanted nothing more in this life than to become a father. He talked often about adventures he would take our future kids on, and we would both nervously laugh, knowing they would likely have his dangerous combination of intelligence, energy, and curiosity. But you took away my chance to watch him become the father he deserved to be.
Court cases often focus on what already happened, but victim impact statements focus on the future that was stolen. The survivor here describes a different kind of pain. While the defendant, even behind bars, still has the chance to see her own children, she has forever taken away John's chance to ever become a father. This is a powerful emotional shift, meant to challenge any request for mercy based on the defendant being a mother herself. The speaker reminds the court that while Garcia's life continues, one chapter at a time, the Noffsinger family's story was violently cut short beside the road. This leads directly into the final call for justice, showing that the coming sentence isn't punishment for one mistake, but the necessary removal of someone who has proven to be a serious danger to society.
She has inflicted more anxiety and pain through her legal decisions. She has shown that her selfishness was not a one-off, but is a core part of her personality. She has shown absolutely no remorse for the pain she has caused us. She does not feel sorry for us, but she certainly does feel bad for herself. How someone remains so self-centered after causing the amount of pain to others is beyond me. But I do know that this type of person will only cause more pain to others if given the chance. Keeping her behind bars is what is best for her children, my family, and the safety of our entire society. While she begins her sentence, our family will finally be given the chance at a new chapter, one focused on healing, honoring our loved ones, and rebuilding a future in their memory.
By your willful disregard for human life. You knew it could happen when you drove drunk, but you didn't care. You didn't even care about the life you grew inside you. You drank alcohol, put the keys in your car, and drove until you were stopped. But only after you irrevocably changed my family's life forever. Make no mistake, what you did was murder. You are a murderer. One day you will walk out of prison. My sentence only ends when I meet my son in heaven. You murdered the father, a son to a father. You murdered a wife's husband. You murdered the kid's pops. You murdered a brother's brother. You murdered a brother-in-law. When you smashed your car into Dan, you fractured the bone in his lower right leg. Ashley, you broke.
Dan was the completion of me. I have to go through the rest of this life as half a person. Henry couldn't sleep. He's been crying. He misses his papa. He said, right now, I want to throw something worse than rotten tomatoes at the lady who hit us. I tell him right now she's in jail, and hopefully that's where she'll be for the rest of her life. And he said, I don't think that'll be enough. I keep hoping and waiting to wake up from this nightmare. It's been almost 6 months and everything still feels unreal. Dan and I built a life in spite of so many challenges. Our life was so good. He was so good to me and the kids. He loved us so hard and we loved him so much back. The life I had with him felt like a dream. We talked about that a lot, how it almost felt unreal to have found each other. Sometimes I wonder if I dreamed him up, but I know I didn't. I saw his lifeless body. I can still see the sheet covering his head, and feel his refrigerator cold arm in my hands. I've never had a nightmare feel so real. I'd still love to wake up if I could.
In the end, the judge's decision to place Tracy Nix back into custody immediately was only the beginning of the final outcome. On April 3, 2025, the court returned for a sentencing hearing that was just as emotional as the trial itself. Ariel's parents, Kayla and Drew Schock, spoke before the court, with Drew directly telling the judge, quote, "She's done this twice, and the fact that we're debating whether she deserves jail time is just insane to me," end quote. While Tracy took the stand and said she was quote-unquote broken by the loss, the judge remained unconvinced. Judge Ashley acknowledged her sadness but found no true remorse, pointing to conflicts between her testimony and the evidence. He sentenced Tracy Nix to 5 years in Florida State Prison, the maximum sentence allowed for the crime she was convicted of. It was an ending that left a family broken, a community divided, and a former principal facing life inside a prison cell after years of professional success were wiped away by 2 tragic afternoons.